learning something again. So here we go.
Dude, it works really well. I can do screen sharing. We can bring in guests. I can play YouTube videos with audio. I can highlight comments and super chats on the screen. I can do all kinds of cool stuff.
How long has it been around? Do you know?
I don't know, but my buddy Shane from In the Blues. Do you know that channel?
Yeah, I know that channel.
Yeah, so Shane from In the Blues, I did a live stream with him, and he turned me on to this. And I mean, look, check it out. I can put you like this. You know, I can just do me. I can just do you.
Nice.
I can add a screen.
And I'm logged in with my Google email for my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. You're logged in, and so you should be able to see all the comments. All right, people.
I don't see comments.
You don't see them on the side there.
Comments. Sorry. Yeah. Now I do. Sorry, got them. Yeah, I just had to hit a button. Like, for instance, Mark Locke. Here we go.
Yeah, they're starting to flood.
T.O., White Rabbit, Vandy Man, Michael Wolfram.
See, you know everybody, or everybody knows you.
No, I'm just looking at names and saying what's up. How's it going? I just want to say shout out here to. Oh, I'll point this way, right?
This way. This.
That feels weird because you were there. Shout out to Michael Palmisano, everybody, and we've known each other for a handful of years now, dude. I'm so excited to see you have all these things going on with YouTube, man. I'm really stoked for you,
dude. Well, Marty, man, I sincerely appreciate it. You know, you've obviously been someone we've all looked up to, and you know my story. We've known each other, I think, 4 or 5 years now, and we were just talking off camera a little bit that, it's taken me. I mean, I've had other, things, on the internet work, but it's taken me about 7 years to get any traction on YouTube. 7 years, but it's because of people like you who keep posting every day, and were willing to kind of like meet with me throughout the years and encourage me to just keep uploading, and eventually, you'll find your voice, you'll find your audience. And dude, I'm psyched. I'm happy to share it with you, brother. I'm so happy you're on here.
Yeah, I was just looking at your stats, and I mean, you're getting tons of subscribers every day, tons of views. I couldn't be happier for you,
dude. Well, I sincerely appreciate it. So, I got a bunch of things I want to talk to you about, but one thing that kind of helped propel this kind of new momentum for me is, I was in a rut, and I felt like I was playing all the same stuff forever. And I don't know if you know this or not, but I put the guitar down for like half of 2019.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so, I had all my courses and stuff, so I was still, making a living and all that. And so I did as much as I needed to keep everything afloat. But as far as personally and professionally, I didn't really play. I was totally burnt out. And then my wife and I went to go see a Dead & Company show because she's a huge Mare fan. And I had never seen them. And although I knew of the Dead, et cetera, I had never gotten into that music. And I was watching the show, and, it just kind of hit me right then and there. I was like, what is this music? Like, what is this audience? Who are like, what are these songs? And I was like, and how's The Body is a Wonderland, dude, sound so different and better playing someone else's songs? And it like immediately switched in my head. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to learn this totally new genre. And when I went about to go and learn it and get into the jam band scene, if you will, that's when I started doing this new video series where I was like, well, screw it. I don't know any of these tunes. I'm just going to put the camera on and learn them on the fly. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this whole thing started. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because kind of once it started, you reached out to me, and I didn't realize that you kind of grew up on this music, and like, and then I went through your channel and saw, oh, dude, he's done like 30 Dead lessons, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah.
And so, I feel it's odd starting at ground zero at my mid 30s or whatever. Now I'm on the other side of 35. And so I was kind of wondering if you could talk about that a little bit and how you kind of got into the band and
Yeah,
et cetera.
absolutely. One thing I do want to say is one of my musical highlights. And there is a video on YouTube somewhere, but I played with Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead.
Really?
Yeah.
What
So I
songs
just
did
have
you
to
play?
give a shout out for that. Well, it was actually interesting because we didn't play any Dead songs. We played all George Harrison songs. So I got to play While My Guitar Gently Weeps right next to Phil Lesh on the bass and me on the lead guitar. That was probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. But basically, one of my best friends that I grew up with in high school and elementary school that plays guitar and bass and all that. He's kind of part of that Terrapin Crossroads scene in Northern California that Phil Lesh owns that club and restaurant venue.
Right.
And so my buddy Brian, who's also playing in this awesome band called the Mother Hips, which did come from the 90s jam band kind of thing. But anyway, my buddy Brian Rashap is his name. He's plays in all these different configurations up there at Phil Lesh's place. And so once a year I would, or even twice a year sometimes, now everything's out the window, right? But I usually 1 or 2 times a year I'd pilgrimage up there and play for the week with different bands and different things. And so
For the week?
4 or 5 days, yeah.
Oh, that's
I'd
killer.
play because they have brunch set, they have an indoor bar, then they have the bigger venue. So and then my buddy Brian's so like connected in that kind of world, mostly as a bass player, that it was a very collaborative environment there. So there were different guys, it was almost like house musicians, and you'd put different lineups together for different types of shows. And one of those shows, basically, I was going to play a bunch of the more casual. They also have an outdoor stage. It's owned by a Grateful Dead member. So
so it's awesome.
You'd think it was. Yeah. But basically, I went there and did a bunch of the casual shows, which culminated like a Saturday night in their great room for George Harrison's birthday. It was a yearly thing they did. And actually, what was really cool was me and my buddy Brian were playing one of the more casual brunch gigs, and it was acoustic in the like restaurant area.
Right.
And we were playing all like Dead, Beatles, Dylan, just like duo stuff.
Right.
And Phil wasn't scheduled to play the George Harrison show, but he came in to have lunch, and he knows my friend Brian, but so he came in, he sat right in front of us during our duo set, and I was like, oh, this is my opportunity to just have Phil Lesh sit and watch me or at least listen to me while he eats his cream of mushroom soup or whatever. And so we were just we were getting into it, and it felt really good. I knew we were like really getting some good jams.
Yeah.
And that's what they want there. They want long extended jams. Like
they want you to go for it.
Wants. Yeah. And like there were other times there where like they'd be like, dude, like solo longer, which no guitar player ever hears really. I was like, oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm not used to that. Like indulging for a 5-minute solo. It doesn't feel, I'll solo.
No, don't go back to the verse. We don't need another verse.
Yeah. But no, one of the more flattering moments through that thing was we played the set. Phil Lesh stayed the whole time while he ate lunch, and he was not scheduled to play in the George Harrison show, but my friend Brian and I were among a bunch of other really cool musicians in the Bay Area. And we went back to Brian's house later that night, and Brian's phone rings, and it's Phil Lesh's assistant, and he said, "Oh, Phil wants to jam with you guys at the George Harrison thing." So I was like, "Oh, all right." So that was really cool. But no, honestly, the other thing I just want to shout out to your viewers, because you have like a high percentage of jam band kind of audience.
Well,
am I right?
Yeah, I mean that's why I started with this subject for sure. I mean that's
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the beginning, man. I got a few years on you. I'll go back to the beginning.
Let's go deep. And real quick, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, feel free to throw them in the comments and we'll get to them. But yeah, Marty, go for it. Go to the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning, all the way to the beginning. Well, I liked, I mean, from the time I was 13, 14, listening to music, I definitely got into classic rock, like Led Zeppelin, especially the Beatles. Allman Brothers were huge. Sly and the Family Stone. Back then, I graduated high school in 1993, so my teenage years, you'd have to go into a music store and like pick out an album cover that looked cool if you wanted to try and discover new music or whatever.
Isn't it amazing how much money we actually used to spend at music stores? Like you get a 20, you go in there, you get one album, and that's what you had until you had another 20.
Absolutely. And
it's crazy.
I remember when Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 released, and there was a line around the music store building of people waiting for them to open the door so that people could walk in and get their copy or copies, 2 albums, double the money.
That's right.
But so anyway, I'm setting the stage to say that I was a classic rock fan, not a guitar player. I didn't start playing guitar till my senior year of high school, really.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of a late start. I mean, I got a guitar when I was 13 and took some lessons, but it just didn't stick. The teacher wasn't the right guy. He didn't inspire me at all. It was just, out of the book kind of thing. I've talked about that a lot, but But if we cut to like classic rock legends at the time, and a lot of them are still around, or the same ones, but like Santana. So I grew up in Orange County, California, Southern California. But I went to see, this has got to be about 1991 or 92. And I saw Santana play in concert.
Yeah.
And hey, Papa Stash.
Papa Stash.
So if people are familiar with Brett Papa Stash, we actually went to high school together, Brett Papa and I. So he's actually gonna call bullshit on me if I say something that's not right about this.
Well, we can also bring him in here too if he's brave. If he wants to.
If he's brave, by all means. So he's talking about how I played harmonica. So I'm almost there, Brett. I'm almost there. Basically, Santana played, and a band that I'd never heard of opened for them.
Yeah.
And they were young. They were in their early 20s. And they were called Blues Traveler. And I had never seen
what a harmonica player.
Yeah, so I'd never seen a band or heard music that were younger guys at the time. They're, I'd say, probably 7 or 8 years older than me, which is a lot back when you're a teenager. But I heard a band like of young guys playing music that was more a throwback to the 70s classic rock, the 60s jamming and all that stuff. So I immediately was like, what the hell is that? Who are these guys? And a lot of the younger people here are just not going to relate to the fact there was no internet, So Blues Traveler got big. This was probably the first time they ever made it to the West Coast, but they got big. The only other time like their name popped up with someone that I would know, a friend of mine, would be like a friend of mine that went to boarding school on the East Coast. So they would have like their cassette or whatever. So Blues Traveler was my entry point into the jam bands. They were they probably played the West Coast before Phish did, and that's where I grew up. Yep. So, and then the other thing was, I bought the albums. I was like, holy crap, this is like, I just can't believe it's a new band, I guess was the part of my mind. It was like, there's like a new current contemporary band that sounds like more that kind of stuff. So really was like working my brain. And the same friend that I played in Northern California with, he was starting to play guitar at that time as well. And he was starting to get excited about that music as well. I mean, shit, he literally, lives up and works with Phil Lesh now. So, or did, and plays in bands up there. So like he was into it even more than I was.
Yeah.
But a couple of my buddies were getting pretty good at guitar. I was getting into that music. So I bought a harmonica because it was cheap and could bring it around with me.
Right.
And just, it was my plan to just like try and figure out, you know, just how I, instead of just watching my buddies jam, how I could like get to be involved instead of just watching, right? So I just started learning harmonica driving in the car and playing along with Blues Traveler and listening to other kind of old, once I started playing harmonica, like my friends were turning me on to like Little Walter and like the
Oh
old,
yeah.
you know, the old Muddy Waters record. So I was like, you know, kind of trying to get into it, and you know, starting to listen to even more Grateful Dead because of the connection still with the 90s jam bands and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, Blues Traveler was my band. But because of that, and now a little movement was starting to happen, just like the Seattle grunge scene. Now we've got this East Coast, New York City jam band scene happening. And so then just by the fact that I was into Blues Traveler, I was like looking at magazines, you know, once again, no internet, folks.
Well,
See the gray?
yeah, I'm starting to get gray right here on both sides, man.
But real quick, just by getting into that, I started seeing these names: Phish, Widespread Panic, the first generation of these new jam bands. Spin Doctors were right there. You know, they were the first ones to have like a mainstream success. So just because of me hearing Blues Traveler, who opened for Santana, now I was like starting to want to see what else was out there, and I'm that age, so man, it just like that was my scene. I've seen Phish a bunch of times because a bunch of my friends, just because we're all the same age and like-minded folk and musicians and whatnot. Phish was like the band. I went to college, you know, I studied music at a time when Phish was like the pinnacle band to want to be as far as the kind of music I like.
And this was this like late 90s?
This was I mean, I liked Phish in high school. I bought Picture of Nectar, or is it Picture of Nectar? The Phish people will destroy me for not knowing if that's plural or not. Picture of Nectar. Picture of Nectar. Okay, so it's Picture of Nectar. So I bought that because I just saw that they were a similar scene. So like I was like, the first time I heard Phish was I bought Picture of Nectar and the oh god, they're gonna butcher me on this one too, the Junta. I'm sorry.
They're saying picture.
yeah, I got it. I'm going live right now, you guys. There's pressure. Okay,
I know, lots of pressure with me.
but Harmon Collector. But I mean, all my music was discovered like buying a CD, putting it in my car stereo, being by myself in my car, probably not even driving, and just like cranking it up, looking through the liner notes. And Phish to me was like definitely a weird first listening. It was like, because it wasn't live, it was just like the recording, and I was trying to figure out where they were coming from, because Blues Traveler is so like more like Black Crowes or something, and Phish was just like its own other thing.
Yeah, so that was literally what I was going to ask you. Is like, so when I think Blues Traveler, you know, I knew who John Popper was. I saw Blues Traveler back in the day, and that music was like you were saying, it's very accessible. You know, like Black Crowes. It didn't require someone saying, "Hey, man, you need to check this out." No, check this out. You didn't have to do some deep digging. Or like the first time I heard Phish, even you know, early Dead stuff, I didn't get it, you know, because I heard it when I was in my teens and 20s, and straight up didn't get it. And I was wondering if you got it right away, and it sounds like you had to you know, give it a few.
Well, and the other thing is, like, you know, the culture that I was growing up in, you know, you're listening to radio and watching MTV. And you're getting fed the mainstream all the time. And as a younger person, it's forming like what you think normal taste should be. So when you hear something out of it, it's like tasting a new food or something that it's like an acquired taste, like caviar or something that the first time you know, if you give it to a little kid, they're like, what is it? but then it's an expensive dish. So I don't know if that's the perfect analogy, but it's like no, I was definitely not an overnight kind of thing. But what I really remember, and I might as well since this is a guitar channel. What I really remember is I just remember that first time I listened to Phish, and it's "You Enjoy Myself," and he goes into the dun, 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 dun. And yeah, I got a little chills right now. I'm thinking about it because even though it was like they're such a young recording for them, and it didn't have all that developing they had done playing live.
Yeah.
You could just hear this like composition that took you places. And someone I see a Zappa comment, and I always have compared Phish more to Zappa than the Grateful Dead.
Yes, I get that.
What they're more similar to in the Dead though is the scene. The scene is you know very much the Dead. It's free thinking people, artistic music loving people. I mean, I know drugs is a part of it as well, but I always felt like at least when you listen to like Phish, especially early Phish, it always reminded me more of Zappa. And yeah, I do like Zappa, but I always leaned more towards like soul music, funk music, like Motown and stuff that always had like a groove to it. Not to say that some Zappa didn't, but Zappa was another one of those like he's still kind of like so out there that it's not like, you know, I don't know. I'd probably rather put in like a Jamiroquai album or something. But
yeah, well, and I'm with you. I still don't really get Zappa. I mean, I've listened to a bunch, and there's some really great parts. But I think like when you say that, you know, you compare Phish closer, you know, if you take the scene out of it, you know, closer to Zappa from the Dead, I totally get that because I feel like from a compositional aspect, I feel like there's so much of it that is meant to surprise the audience. You know, make them shock them, you know, make them feel like they don't know what's coming. Like pretty much the opposite of what typical songwriting, quote unquote, you know, should be, where like simple progressions, simple melodies that connect chords, simple lyrics everybody can relate to, delivered perfectly. You know, it's like it is almost like you're trying to go the opposite of that. And Zappa goes way away from that, almost to the point where you have sound effects and everything, you know. But
totally. But yeah, there's a similarity with Phish. Phish is definitely like this like East Coast art school kind of.
So you hear the East Coast in it, huh?
I think so. And I grew up on the West Coast, and I don't know if I like hear the East Coast, but let's put it this way. And I was in a jam band in the like from 1999 to like 2005. I was in a band called Wise Monkey Orchestra, and we got to play the Wetlands in New York City, where all those bands got their start. We played a bunch of festivals with all the bands that, you know, any of the bands that are like still big now in jam bands. Like I have played with them in a show, opening for them, or in a festival. So like, but this was like 20 years ago. So we were all trying to climb our way up, and certain bands, you know, made it there. But like I played at High Sierra Music Festival and the All Good Festival.
I went to many All Goods in West Virginia.
Okay. Well, so what I was going to say though is like my band Wise Monkey, we'd play like the 11 a.m. slot. And the headliner later that night would be like, you know, I know one year it was definitely like Disco Biscuits and Humphreys McGee always played, and Soul Live, Derek Trucks band, you know, all that stuff. Oh, but what I was going to say is we were a Wise Monkey, the band I was in. We were a like a 7-piece horn section, female singer, kind of funk rock. And so whenever we went to the East Coast, they would say we sound like a West Coast Deep Banana Blackout. I don't know if you ever heard of Deep Banana Blackout.
Dude, I have heard of Deep Banana Blackout. What's one of their like big songs? Wow, you're like throwing it way back here.
Well, you know.
No. You know what? We're gonna do a hard tangent here, okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can you handle it?
Yeah.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring YouTube up, and we're gonna bring up Deep Banana Blackout.
Yeah.
God made me funky.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
That's Bump and Sway, Tug. I can't remember. Let's see what Bump and Sway is. I don't know. Does anybody know this? Does anybody remember this band? Let's see what Bump and Sway sounds like.
Well, I know.
Are you hearing it?
Yeah. The singer's name is Jan. The guitar player, he went by Fuzz.
Yeah.
That was his stage name. But we always got compared to them, and we weren't even familiar with them until we went to the East Coast back then, because the internet was just, MySpace hadn't even existed yet for bands. So the internet was very much in its beginning, like blogs were written blogs were about jam bands was like as far as it went. But we always got compared to them, but more West Coast sounding. I think there is a little edge to East Coast, if you listen to like Bruce Springsteen, it just doesn't sound like he grew up in Los Angeles. But when you hear the Red Hot Chili Peppers and you say they're from Hollywood, I just feel it that they're from Hollywood. Like it just makes sense to me. Or Blondie is from New York, right?
Yeah.
Or the Ramones sound like New York City. So I guess there is something to that. But yeah, that's the scene I grew up in. I went to college. I had my own jam band called Steamroller. Then out of college, I've never not played music like full time for a living. I became a guitar teacher because that's what I did for a day job.
Right.
Because that's what you can do in the daytime as a musician.
Yep.
But I was always going to be a guitar player. And then, as you get older, I know because you've got more kids than me, but, you just start you start thinking more about the big picture and supporting a family. I'm basically constantly thinking about supporting my family. I see a comment real quick. Matt Mannering is asking if I jammed with Jason Crosby at Terrapin. Jason Crosby is just absolutely amazing musician.
I don't know who he is.
You should check him out. He definitely has connections in that jam band thing. He's a piano player and a bunch of other things, singer. I did play with him in the George Harrison tribute. So in other words, like the bigger show, there was a bunch of different, like you had a list of songs with different lineups. So I didn't play on every single song that night, but I played on a lot, probably about half. But rotated, through a bunch of, different lineups. But yeah, I know Jason Crosby a bit. We're not super close, but I have been like in rooms with him and whatnot. So yeah.
Right on.
But that's my world. In fact, the ratio of lessons I do on YouTube are more, to give the people what they want, right?
Totally.
So I'm not like doing like every Phish song and every Grateful Dead, although I've done a lot of Dead and a couple of Phish. Phish is like, I'll have to spend all week, teaching one Phish song.
Dude, tell me about it. I did a couple, and I don't remember how many I did, 3 or 4, something like that. And Umphreys was very similar, where it's like it changes so quickly that eventually you're just like, you guys realize like I can't teach this, right? Like I have to just like watch it, and then there's no shot. There's not even a progression. Like there's no, especially with Umphreys. But I really like Umphreys because Umphreys kind of lends itself more to my background, which is the metal background and the progressive rock type thing. It's
For
not
sure.
as it's so like I really I like that kind of thing. But yeah, but learning, like I remember the first time like someone put on, or I forget which one. I forget. I did like a
Hold
live
on.
stream.
I have to mention a comment because
Sure.
it's one of the bands that Wise Monkey played with at the Wetlands in New York City. Kiko7809 says, do I remember Percy Hill? Percy Hill was a fantastic band. We opened for them at the Wetlands in New York City, which is like, have you heard of Wetlands Preserve, my friend?
No.
Michael? Okay. So
No.
that's where all these bands got their start. And it's not there anymore. But Brooklyn Bowl is basically the continuation of that. Have you heard of Brooklyn Bowl? That's a
yeah. I've heard of the Brooklyn Bowl. Yeah.
So there's a place called Wetlands, but we played there a couple of 4 or 5 times we played there. But Percy Hill was the first time I ever played at Wetlands, was opening for this band Percy Hill. And those musicians definitely have all done other things.
Yeah.
But the main guy, his name was Joe.
Yeah.
And they had great like vocals and songwriting, which was like at the time, like you didn't necessarily need that for your jam bandness.
Right. Right.
He kind of had like, his voice reminded me of Sting a little bit.
Yeah.
And also a little bit of that Steely Dan, like definitely like high level musicianship. And they didn't make it.
Damn. Do you remember a track of theirs that you particularly liked?
It would probably be easier.
I'm just gonna play something just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Just play something.
Yeah, why not?
A little pitchy there. Flip's a little pitchy. Looks like a.
So this is 2019.
2019, man. You got to go to the prime. But anyway, I see people commenting about him, so that's cool.
Hey, Jeffrey, thank you so much for that super chat. Sincerely appreciated. You're the man.
Hey, Jeffrey. Nice job, dude. That's really great. I can't think of a greater guy to support than Michael Palmisano.
Well,
as long as I can feed my family and pay my bills. Other than that, yes, Michael Palmisano. Yeah, man. I mean, so that's just my scene. So when I was, in bands in the early 2000s,
yeah,
that was the scene I most kind of connected to. I wasn't going to be. When I went to college in New Mexico, moved back to California in 98. And in 98, I was in Orange County. Now I live in San Diego. But I'm in San Diego because of the band Wise Monkey. They're a San Diego band. I auditioned for them while I still lived in Orange County, and it worked out. So I ended up moving. But anyway, that was what I connected to it on a music level. And so that's, I played all those venues with all those bands. I liked the band I was in, but I was excited to like tour and like play these venues with these bands that I was looking up to. So that was cool. But, when we played with like Percy Hill, for instance, I'm like, holy shit, these guys are way together. They have it together, whereas we're pretty good, but they really have it together. Or like, I can play a mean solo, but they have like songs,
That just what it always came down to, the songs, man.
Yeah. So they were I was always impressed with them. And I mean, there's so many, but I personally, the last like thing like that was cool for me is I got to play with the saxophone player named Carl Denson.
Yes.
He plays in the Stones. Maybe you've heard of him. But
the Tiny Universe.
Yeah. Carl Denson's Tiny Universe. And before that, he started a band with some guys in San Diego called Gray Boy All Stars, which is super hip boogaloo instrumental organ trio kind of, or it had horns and stuff, but like that boogaloo groove soul jazz kind of thing. And then Carl Denson's Tiny Universe, I played with you guys for about a 10-day tour about 6 years ago. He was doing a Prince tribute. It was before Prince died.
I
So that
love
dates
this.
it. I would say it's about a year before Prince died, and we did a Prince tribute, and he needed a second guitar player for it because of the Prince music.
Yeah.
And he's a San Diego. He lives in San Diego, so he was like calling around saying, "Is there a San Diego guitar player that I can hire for this thing that is going to be easy?" And
Show up.
they threw my name out. It was actually my buddy, actually originally from Wise Monkey, one of the horn players, horns, the horn connection, who's now
Yeah.
been in the band Slightly Stupid for about 5 years.
Dude, it's
So
all
that's
connected, isn't it?
another San Diego band. Yeah. So I got to tour with Carl Denson. That was the last kind of like little tour thing I did. And that was actually like probably 6 months before Marty Music launched. So I was like working towards launching Marty Music.
Well, let's take a super chat question if you're all right with that, and then we'll get back to the story. So Larry Landshade wants to know your favorite new beer and best new guitarist. His vote is for Red's Apple Ale and Mark Spear from Krangbin. I never know how to say that. That
Krangbin,
name.
Yeah, dude, they're really good.
Lots of reverb. Really, I listened to one track, I think, and it was like just soaking in the reverb.
The thing that they do really well, which I appreciate so much more now as a 45-year-old, is the music kind of simmers. It like
simmers.
It simmers along. It's got that like it's got a relax.
Doesn't always hit you in the face.
It's not in a rush to like. It's great deep grooves. I mean, they have different kinds of music, but it's not like it's always got this patience to it.
Yeah.
That I really like. So I'm saying favorite beer or favorite new beer, favorite new guitar player?
Favorite new beer, favorite new guitar player.
All right. Well, we got to give him his super chats worth, Well, I
don't even know any new beers.
I don't either because I've had them. I have them already.
I'm having an old Modelo.
They're all any beer in front of me is an old beer.
That's right, gone beer.
No, I live in San Diego, so that's San Diego, beer mecca. Craft beer has been here a long time, so I live pretty close to Stone Brewery.
Yeah, Stone makes good stuff. I have to say,
like local Stone IPA, like fresh from the brewery, is pretty amazing. And then I also like a Racer 5. So I like the IPAs. And then it has to be a favorite new guitar player.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think Marcus King's awesome.
Dude, Marcus King is the correct answer.
I think
Marcus King is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
and he's such a great singer.
Yeah. So he's definitely got a lot going for him. And then like Mateus Asato on he's not really new.
Yeah.
But like he blows me away. Brandon Niederauer, Taz.
Totally.
That dude's I gotta say, he is absolutely phenomenal, dude. I hope you guys all know Taz, Brandon Niederauer. But what I do want to say is the first time I met, he sat in with I don't have like a full-time band, but he sat in with me in New York about 3 or 4 years ago, Brandon, and just freaking melted just everyone's faces. So you could see all the like middle-aged dudes in the audience like going, "Okay, I quit guitar."
Yeah.
I feel the same way too. He's just amazing. He's a just bona fide freaking monster. But the first time I met him was a couple years before that. He was still a little kid. His voice hadn't changed. He was like definitely little kid.
Yeah.
I'm at the NAMM show.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if he knew me, and I never presumed that someone would know me.
Right.
And really, all I wanted was to kind of check him out. But I walked up to him and I was like, "Dude, you're so amazing." And he was like, "Oh, Marty, like the first thing I ever learned was from one of your videos. It was Allman Brothers, Sweet Melissa."
Yeah.
And my hands were barely. His dad said his hands could barely fit on the neck. So actually, the very first thing he learned was from one of my videos. But
dude, that's gotta feel great, doesn't it? I know that it's weird because we've chosen to kind of put our skill sets in front of spend our time instead of, at least these days, hunting to play on stage or in, that gigging around, and we spend our time in front of cameras, computers. But isn't it nice to know the impact that we're kind of making in our own little tiny world? Stuff like that makes my day when it happens.
It's incredible. I could go on and on about how fortunate I feel.
Yeah.
Since we do have a lot of jam banners, I'll throw another one out there. One day a couple years back, I got an email from a woman, and she said, "Yeah, I've bought all your lead guitar courses, this and that, and I need help with my login, or I need a new, all about that, new login or new password, or whatever."
Many a day, every day.
Yeah. But I was like, yes, no problem. And then she wrote back and she said, "And by the way, here's my Instagram, because I learned how to play lead guitar from your videos."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to check it out." And so it's this woman named Celise, who is in Trey Anastasio's Ghost of the Forest band.
Wow.
So yeah, so she learned lead guitar from my videos. And if you check out Celise anywhere on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, you'll see, she's phenomenal singer, guitar player. In fact, she played guitar with Lizzo on Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
And she's just she's phenomenal. I know. I'm like, oh, great. She's doing better than me. No, but honestly, like Taz or this woman, Celise, like, honestly, they're the ones that did it. They just used my information, and they're the ones that created it for themselves. So yeah, it feels great to be a part of that. And I know, like, it was them, but I'm so proud that it was my video and my information, but they created it.
Well, dude, it's I think that it's easy to forget, that so much of it is not like, this is where you put your fingers, this is where you put your hand. It's connecting with the person and the energy and the encouragement. Like you said, like when you first started, you didn't have the right teachers, right out of the book, blah, 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 blah. And like, it's so cool to realize that the other stuff still can come through over the internet, and you can make that 9-year-old or 11-year-old or 14-year-old or whatever play and keep it up and not put it down in your own way. Keep pushing them along, get them something they can get them to their 18, and by the time they're 22, they're freaking monsters. And it's just that little nudge, like putting out that next lesson, like, oh, I didn't know about that band, just one little thing, and you can be on other parts of the world, because sometimes you can't do the work for anybody, but just that little, the best teachers just find a way to keep it in your hands and keep you excited about it.
Well, that's why I always said 5 minutes a day is all it takes,
dude. Because
hopefully the 5 minutes is just what it really means, is pick the guitar up every day, and hopefully that 5 minutes becomes 20 minutes, or if you have a breakthrough, it becomes an hour, and you get lost in time.
That's totally correct. I tell all my students that, like, if you're picking out what guitar to pick out, just get the one you can't put down. Just keep picking the damn thing up, and you'll get better. Actually, keep it in your hands.
And I would also say that I was always drawn to the two F-hole thing. Actually, really is a Trey inspiration thing, to tell you the truth.
That thing is beautiful.
Hero. Thanks, man. But like, just the idea of like the two F-hole guitar was like, we used to, me and my friends in late high school and early and all through college. He was the guitar hero for at least my little group of people. And then I discovered the John Scofield A Go-Go album, and that like was like this other amazing deep dive that I went down into that stuff, and discovering all the kind of like organ trio music and the boogaloo funk jazz stuff. I was never a great bebop straight jazz player, but I'm
horrible.
Yeah, I love that Grant Green style, funky groove stuff. So that was a whole other deep dive. Oh, but on the thing, back to another thought real quick. I said it. I think I said it before we were live, so I want to say it again.
Go for it.
There's been a couple times where friends of mine have shared one of your videos with me, but not knowing that you and I have known each other. So I think
Yeah,
that's really cool. Like my one
dude.
buddy Brian, who helps me with my live streams, he is a total audiophile, vinyl collector, hardcore Deadhead, loves Phish, loves just listening to music and nothing else. Not a
Yeah,
musician, but a music fan, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
he,
Uh-huh.
he was like, hey, I really like this guy Michael Palmisano because he talks about Phish. And I was like, dude, Michael Palmisano, that's awesome, man, because he's a friend of mine, you know. And then one morning I woke up and I got a text from my friend Jonathan Schwartz,
Yeah.
no relation,
Right.
that I know of, but he does the Phish station on Sirius Radio.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, check out this video. It's so awesome. And it was you probably the first big, whatever first big Phish one you did. And I was like, dude, that's Michael. That's awesome, man. That's so cool. He's a friend of mine, yada, yada, yada. So you've gotten around now.
Yeah. And you know, that blows my mind too, that um I have people that watch that don't play guitar or music in general. You know, like so much of the, you know, because
I absolutely get it. I absolutely get it because you picked a niche that has a fanatical base, and they're so excited that you had never listened to Phish before. That's what it is. They're
well, it's
getting
not
to
just
like,
it's not just that band though. You know,
no,
it's yeah,
I know. I saw your whole thing with
yeah,
Phish, but I'm just saying Phish as an example because it is a
yeah,
broader
yeah.
niche than just Phish. But Phish, you know, they're the kings basically. So
They are easily the most rabid fan base I've ever encountered.
right, but so what I'm saying is like for you to say make a very I think that the it factor for all of it was that you were not a guitar player with that background.
Right,
So
right,
people got
right,
to vicariously get excited with
right,
your excitement and feel the love they have and see someone experiencing the love that they've probably tried to tell their friends that don't get
right,
it all
right,
about. But
right.
here's someone that gets it and they get to watch, and like I know that was what my friend Brian was doing, like because he doesn't play guitar. He just
Yeah,
somehow
yeah.
was looking some Phish connection in the search, ended up popping on your video, and he was like, "Oh, I could watch this." And Jonathan Schwartz, I mean, if he plays guitar, it's very little guitar.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, you know, to learn guitar, but it was to just like check out what you were doing. So,
Yeah, no,
um,
I mean it's that's the part that really blows my mind so much is that so many of the viewers like don't mind me starting and stopping in the middle of the song 50 times to figure out whether it's an A or an A flat. You know what I
uh-huh.
mean? You know, and
I,
it's
I can't handle that pressure. I don't think. But I was watching one of the first ones. I think it was the one that Jonathan Schwartz shared with me, and I started watching, and I was like, "No, Michael, it's E minor. It's E minor."
oh, dude, I can't tell you how many emails I get in all caps. Like, how could you?
Oh, I
How?
get those too.
I'm sure. I'm sure that you get those. We all, but you know, I think there's also a safety there with people. Although a lot of people don't believe that I don't pre-learn, but like as I say to all of them, well, then I would get it right if that was the case. But there's a safety there of you know,
Well,
you
you're
don't have to
also,
get it
yeah.
note for note because you can just you got to keep going. You know.
So no more Phish, though. Yeah.
No, no more Phish. It's really, truly, and deeply a shame because, like I mentioned earlier, and I know a lot of people watching are probably chomping at the bit for me to talk about this, but it's totally cool. I never got them when I was young. You know, like I said, like we talked about before, I never got them, just like I never got the Dead. And I think a lot of it had to do that during the time period you're talking about, like when you grew up and you were entering that scene and playing in bands, I was in the metal scene. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was going to all the Oz fests. I was, big into the, Pantera and Slayer and all that type of stuff. And I just those scenes are very different. And when I would hear that music, I mean, I didn't get it. And so when I started doing the Dead videos, of course the Phish people came, and they came like hot and heavy, like
yeah.
you can't imagine. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna give him this, I'm gonna give him a clean slate, like I've never heard of them before, and give it and try to figure out why these people are so rabid, because they're coming through me through this Dead channel, which I'm growing to love so much. And that went really well, and I was starting to get it. And then Phish started blocking all my videos, and all about the YouTube blocking machine, and how some of it's an algorithm and some of it's manual, and et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, I instead of disputing just through YouTube, I thought that I had a big enough support base from the fans that I could just reach out to Phish's management and talk to them and say, hey, will you let me do these videos? And, we can donate all the money to charity, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually got to talk to them. I got to talk to their management. And basically they said no. And I, basically, took it personally, and couldn't understand why they didn't think it was fair use. And so no, we can't do Phish anymore. And that's where we are with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw your video.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Lisa's chat there.
I have Lisa up here. You want to jump to that now?
Yeah.
But anyway, well,
the band doesn't.
Well, so here's the follow-up. Here's the follow-up that people don't know. The follow-up is, I actually smoothed it over and talked it over with the management, and actually got an email back from Page himself. And he basically was like, no hard feelings, all water under the bridge. This is a crazy time right now, and the internet's the Wild West, and blah 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 blah. So like, we're cool. And so honestly and truly, I had a little YouTube freak out moment and took something personally that I shouldn't have, but you can't do takebacks in life. But I've made peace with the band, and I've made peace with a lot of the people. But there's a very small group of people that took it more personally than I did on the other side, that scared the absolute bejesus out of me. And not like I got death threats, but it came pretty much right up to it. And I am absolutely petrified to let the wolf through the door again. And that's the guy's honest truth.
Well, what I would have told you, although you didn't ask.
How would I know to ask?
I don't know. I would have said, like, you just sit on that, man. You don't make the video when you're feeling those feelings. You wait.
Yeah.
You wait a day, and figure out how you really want to go about it. But that's cool. Believe me, I've been through it all.
Dude, I know.
I can't talk about.
Listen, you've been through shit you can't talk about.
Well, let's get our super chats. I don't want to let these people down, even though this money doesn't go to my pocket. But let's.
Oh yes, it does. We're splitting it, brother.
We're good. We're good, man. It's all
right.
Good.
So Lisa, thank you so much. We've both been watching the super chat. Don't forget we haven't seen it. So it says, what female guitarist have you jammed with personally? Ever play with Emmylou Harris or other country artists? Go for it, brother.
Well, I have a great guest teacher on my channel named Lindsay L, who's more from the country world, and she plays a Strat. And actually, she's a great guitar player, singer, songwriter. Fits into the country mold, but has that kind of like John Marish influence. So she's one of the few, and she's blonde hair, dressed up, into the whole country vibe, but rips solos on her Strat. And I don't know many country female artists that are really doing that particular thing the way she's doing it. So
Right.
she's great. I mentioned Celise from so many things, but also from Trey's Goes to the Forest, and Celise is just killing it.
Mhm.
There's a girl named Moody. Well, Moody Mood is the Instagram page, but she plays guitar for like Jason Mraz as like a gig, but she's like a great jazz and like I think she has her doctorate in like jazz guitar from USC. Moody Moody. Sorry, I'm not getting the. I'm not positive. Well, I have my phone right here. And I don't know her personally. She doesn't follow me.
They're saying, is she the one that painted her own Strat?
That's Lindsay L. Yes, and the other one I'm mentioning is actually Moody Mill is her Instagram page, but her name's Molly Miller, and she's just a super talented guitar player. Oh, and then oh crap, what's the other? See, it's the pressure. The pressure's on me. Well, let's start with those. And if I don't think about it, a couple more will pop into my head. I don't want to try to think about it. So yeah.
Right on. I've actually only really played professionally in bands with female singers because I've always, when I moved back from LA, I always took the gigs that paid the most money. And so I always did corporate gigs, and in corporate bands, wedding bands and stuff like that, you always basically have to have a female vocalist. I mean, that's the gig, but I've never played with anybody big like that. I've always just been on a local corporate, 100 gig a year pay to play player. That's my gigging background.
If it's a real fat corporate gig, then you get the classic male singer and female singer.
Always both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Songs. And of course you have to do Now I've Had the Time of My Life. I'm not doing
we had to do everything.
Well, you definitely did Uptown Funk. You definitely did that one. I know that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you ever do this one? Sorry. Did you ever do this one? Sorry. You gotta see it.
Of course.
Okay, just making sure. How about
money?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, all of those all day long.
Okay, but here's a deep dive one for you. All right.
Give me one. Give me.
Sorry. Skin tight. Skin tight.
No, never had to do that one.
Skin tight. Skin tight. That's the one.
I think one of my favorite ones to do that no one ever saw coming was the
yeah, man.
Sledgehammer.
I fucking love that. Oh, I just cussed.
Sorry, you're allowed. You're allowed to cuss, dude. Peter Gabriel is one of those bands like Journey, where we could be in the middle of a cornfield, or we could be at like an all-black wedding in DC, or we could be like any audience. Everybody puts their beer down and like it's a hit. It's a 10. We used to call them crowd killers. Like it was beyond demographics.
Yeah. I love that kind of music. Still one of the best concerts I ever went to was Peter Gabriel during the So tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was absolutely incredible.
Who did he have bass playing bass for him? Do you remember?
Tony Levin.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Is
Yeah.
that the right
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
But real quick, you guys, this is something that has never Paula Cole.
Paula Cole.
Have you ever? She sung "Where Have All the Cowboys Gone."
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
She was his backup singer during that time.
Right.
So she did "Where Have All the Cowboys Gone" and "I Don't Want to Wait for Our Lives to Be Over." You
Oh,
know,
Jesus.
some
Yes.
some big hit '90s songs. She's a female artist, but I would
Yeah.
like to say, big announcement. No, we're getting married. No, no, this is gonna sound really weird after I said that. She's my second cousin.
Yeah. 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 No kissing cousins.
No, and I am I'm married already, as you are. But no,
Oh, yeah.
Paula Cole, yeah, she's a second or third cousin of mine. You know,
Yeah.
that was yeah, and I've never met her.
Not even in the wedding funeral crowd.
No, but it's it was no, I know there was a few times before I had anything going on, but I was a musician um where like my mom tried to get a hold of her or something just to connect us. It never happened. Oh, but I do want to say another female that I did play with is I played with Tracy Chapman once. So that
Really?
was amazing.
I love Tracy Chapman.
Yeah, I love her too.
Dude,
yeah. I played that one with her.
Oh, dude, I love, and what a great, just simple, like we were talking about before, 3 chords and a great melody. Just it's just a perfect package, just a killer song.
And I'm pretty sure a song she probably didn't want to be on the album.
Really?
I think so.
Is that like when we make
it?
Is that like when we make what we think is a trash video and it ends up exploding?
Oh, always. Well, yeah, you can never predict it. Like Bon Jovi didn't want "Living on a Prayer" to be on the album. That's true.
No.
Yeah. And they have to be like, "Dude, you're crazy. It's a hit song." Like, well, you can't even judge it anymore when you've been working on something like that. So
yeah. Jacob Cropper wants to know about loop pedals. What's your favorite loop pedal? I've only used the Boss loop station. I don't know about you. I know people probably send you pedals like to the sky and back, but I find one thing that works and I basically don't change it.
Well, open up the internet real quick.
I have the internet, sir. By the way, isn't this cool that we can do this?
It's amazing. I'm so impressed. I'm gonna steal all your amazing ways.
Do it.
Go to martymusic.com/looper.
Okay.
Might as well.
Dude, it's right. Marty Music looper pedal. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna go further. We're gonna drop it in the comments here. Guys, go check out his looper. So okay. you made a looper. Tell me about the looper.
Yeah, so I have my own looper pedal, and it was basically because people ask me all the time about looper pedals, right? And I use it a lot in the lessons.
Right.
I love loopers. From the very beginning of them existing, I bought one, and I've always used one. And Boss makes great loopers. They make great simple loopers, but then they also make very complex loopers, like where you can add stuff, take it away, and blah, 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 yada, 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 right? For a beginner, and you and I both teach all the time, right?
Sure.
You have like the basic like ditto looper, right? Just a one button. Let's not complicate things. It's a great way to start, especially if you're still like trying to develop as a guitar player. The fact that I was getting asked so much, what looper do I use, was like, okay. And also the other thing I would get all the time is, Marty, I got a looper and I can never get it to work like how you do it. And I really am just completely confused. So what I did was, that was my big light bulb. I said, okay, for about a year, it took a year to kind of like find the right connections and stuff to put it together. But so basically I made my own looper. It's basically works the exact same way as a ditto looper. I mean, it even looks the shape of a ditto looper. Although I did pick surf green because I thought that was cool. The color of my Strat. I just love that color.
Yeah.
But so the only thing that really makes my looper different than like a Ditto looper is that my looper actually comes with a 2-hour video course on how to use a looper as a practice tool, how to use that particular looper, which would be like any other looper you would buy. And so
Yeah.
I teach you, I walk you through creating your own loops to use as a practice tool. So that's really what makes mine unique. But I can't go out and tell you when you ask me what looper should I get and I don't say my own. I'm to be a stupid person.
No,
But
no, that's great. If you guys haven't checked it out, if you're looking for a looper, I put the link in the comments. And so Jacob actually came back and you mentioned it, that it comes with the video. He wants advice on how to make a loop to jam over. So,
okay. Well,
so
if you have a looper already, you can get my contact, Marty. You can email marty@martymusic.com. And because you watch this stream, I will give you that video course for free. No strings attached.
dude, you're the man.
All right.
All right.
And it will work. It'll work with other loopers, so I'm not offended.
Cool. There you go. There you go, Jacob. For me personally, like when I make a loop, I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but I make loops based around specific harmonic or rhythmic things that I'm trying to work on. Like one thing that I do is like I'll make a quick. Do I haven't never mind. Scratch that. It's not hooked up. I usually have it hooked up, but I just looked down there and both the mini cable and the power cable are gone. But
mine's like over where my backdrop is, so
yeah.
So I can't make it over there. But yeah, of course. I mean, talk about also guitar playing should be 90% rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
But of course lead is the most fun, right? So if you're using a looper pedal and you want to create grooves that are inspiring for you to want to jam over, then you're really improving so much more than your lead guitar because you're having to work on your rhythm guitar chops to make good loops, right? And then you solo over them to practice your soloing. So looper is really, really good for your rhythm. Even though like the end result is that you want to jam over it. But to make good loops and to make loops that are exciting for you, or just to make your brain work as a rhythm guitar player, it's amazing for that too.
Yeah, well, so check this out. So Interstate here, see, I can put comments up on the screen. So he's saying,
crazy,
dude. I told you, bro. He's just having trouble get it right on the beat, and that's what you're talking about. I feel like when you said like getting better at rhythm with the looper, you got to get better at timing and keeping your time with your foot. And some of them, like this one, I got to click the thing twice, which is real annoying. So oftentimes when I'm making the loop, I'm keeping the beat and I'm just letting a chord ring out, and I don't strum the last couple strums because I know I got to get that double click in. And that's one thing that you'll learn with the looper. I mean, each one is a little different, but you have to get better with your internal timing to get it to be right on the beat. I mean, that's part of it.
Absolutely. And Interstate, XX Interstate, you can email me, marty@martymusic.com. I'll send you that course as well. But I literally spend 2 hours going through every, start real simple and just work people through it. And that was the other thing. That question right there is a question that I get all the time. I mean, a lot of my ideas for videos or like having a looper is from that. It's from interacting with people. They tell you what they want. And it just occurred, I was like, oh, that's how I can make my thing different. And by teaching people. So, part of me was like, oh, I can make a course on how to use a looper. I feel like that's not so in demand. So maybe if I had a looper and the course, that'd be a better way to go about it. And I have an overdrive pedal too.
Well, let me take one more comment here.
Please.
So along this same loop, so I know we've been having a little jam band vein for the evening, but Jay Perry fan says talk some Garcia and Weir. And so like when I'm making loops, I'm sure you can do this with your pedal. You can do a couple. And so one of the things that I've been really enjoying is like learning Althea, like taking that first part, you know. And then trying to add in that Bobby part on top of it with the looper.
Yes.
And you realize how you know you can have two rhythm guitar parts that are separate to make one full part. You know, and that's something that band did really, really well. And that's something you can practice with yourself with a looper or by yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see, Garcia and Weir, like I'm such a more of a Garcia person, you know. That's like what draws me into all everything about the Grateful Dead. Not to say Weir's not important. Weir's important piece of it, but it's all about Jerry for me. In fact, I mean the Jerry band stuff, I mean, I like that even more sometimes, you know.
You know, that I haven't really dug into that much yet, but I can't tell you how many comments I'm getting saying you got to do the Jerry Garcia band. You got to do Jerry Garcia band.
No, and then you gotta do the deep dive and like go into Old and in the Way. Then you start going, oh shit, here's the bluegrass stuff. Like, I mean,
so here's a funny thing about that. So I mentioned I never got into the Dead when I first listened to it. But I've been a Jerry fan for my whole life because I've loved Old and in the Way. I have been learning throughout this kind of, you know, just in general in my life, that there's no shortage of metalheads that took a hard turn to bluegrass. And
I've seen that myself, actually.
Yeah, and so what I was a full-blown metalhead, and then when I went out to LA and went to GIT, something happened, and I basically switched and became a bluegrass player for 5 or 7 years. And Old and in the Way and Doc Watson were like the two big, you know, groups that did it for me. And so I've always loved Jerry Garcia as a vocalist and as a banjo player, but he never took any leads in Old and in the Way that were that resembled anything like you hear in the Dead. And so but yeah, I love Banjo Jerry, Old and in the Way. And those, especially the vocals, like those tunes, those old gospel bluegrass tunes, he just destroys.
Yeah, you got to hear the Jerry band stuff.
Because John Cahn's on bass for that, right? Or at least some of it.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same bass player they had in Old in the Way, and they used to both be nicknamed Mule.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about the Dead, like and Phish for that matter, it's like they're pretty eclectic. So depending on like what the first thing is you hear, like could really change what you think of them. But you know, like my wife, like her scene was like The Cure and the Smiths and like that more kind of emo stuff. So like she hears Phish and she's just like, go with your friends, you know.
If it gets too spicy, don't come home.
But there was the funniest meme about Phish, and I have to paraphrase it because I can't quote it perfectly. But it was like, I think it was like the dudes, the one that writes the meme, he was like, I was watching a live stream Phish show, and my wife walked in and heard the music and said, "What is that Sesame Street?" Like that's what it sounded like. Music to her sounded like something from Sesame Street. So I just thought, yeah, that's perfect. I just remember, like, my wife heard the song "Gotta Jaboo." I don't know. Do you know that one? That's a Phish song.
Yeah, I tried to do it. They blocked it.
Okay, so she heard that one and she was out the door.
Yeah, I understand. Ben Weir, thanks for the super chat.
That's nice.
I promise, brother. How you doing on time? You want to do a couple more questions and then call it a night?
Yeah. My family's like, it's interesting because I'm in my office. It's like the bunker. It's like if I'm in here too long, like where did Dad go?
Yeah.
They can't track the live streams and filming. They don't, you know. They don't.
I hear you. I don't want to keep you from the fam. I appreciate you doing this. All righty.
Yeah.
Anybody has maybe one or two questions, we'll take them, and then we'll wrap it up here. What's that one?
Oh. Julius Caesar. Before you take another step, don't blame it on yourself.
I don't think I know that one.
It's danger. I've been told to expect it.
Look, see, look, people know it.
you guys, I'm telling you, I truly, you know, grew as a guitar player with Phish in the kind of spotlight for me. I'm grateful that I didn't like sit and like copy every Trey lick. I'm grateful for that. Or every Jerry lick. I mean, you know,
anybody, yeah.
Or anybody, yeah. I mean, I've certainly got my share of all of those little things, and I really look up to both of them.
Well, let's finish with this question, because this is a good one to finish on. What's the song that hooked you on the Dead? I'd like to know from both of you. And I feel like everybody. I mean, maybe you don't have one, but I feel like everybody kind of remembers kind of when they hit it, when it happened. For me, it was I went to the show, and then Dead and Company, obviously, and then I came home and started listening because I couldn't get songs out of my head. The ones that really got stuck in my head were They Love Each Other. You know, I loved that.
That's
tune.
like one of the most covered songs of theirs, I think.
Yeah. Well, I found that out. I found there's a bunch of them, but the one that really got me, where like where I realized that why I didn't get it before was because, you know, coming from a metal background and from a corporate band background, where like the goal is always to be over rehearsed and perfect, you know, never miss anything. It's a very strict, you know, music. What I've always done has been a very strict thing. It's never been loose. There's never been anything like that. Once I realized that wasn't the goal of the band, you know, and that their goal was to be adventurous and to kind of be that thing, was when I first listened to the Morning Dew from Winterland in '74, I think it was. That was the one for me where it was like, I get why I didn't get it now. You know what I mean? That was the one when it comes to Jerry's playing. When it comes to just the actual songs, They Love Each Other was the song that spoke to me first.
Yeah. Shit. Well, I don't even remember the first time I heard the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
But I guess as playing guitar, I mean, it would have to be. There's so many, man. But I think
I know.
probably it's got to be.
Yeah. Dude, you want to hear something funny? I swear to God, I heard that song like 6 months ago, like because people were suggesting it, and for 20 years I thought that was a fucking Sublime song.
Yeah, I understand.
Like I thought that was a Sublime tune. Like, because I loved that song for years, but because I loved the first couple Sublime albums, man.
Yeah, the other one that is just always, there's this acoustic version. I mean, with the full band though, it's the Grateful Dead, but
yeah, what song is that?
Bird Song.
Yes.
All I know. So that one always rings true. I mean, dude, when I would go to, I think I still saved it. Like when I don't gig much anymore, but when like I have something here that says Bay Area gigs on my Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
Let's see, Mystic Theater. Oh, Terrapin gig.
Yeah.
So here's the set that I played. So the most exciting song that I ever learned for there's a couple, Terrapin Station and Crazy Fingers.
Yeah.
They're both really hard. Check out Crazy Fingers because there's some like serious like key changes when you solo over Crazy Fingers.
Yeah.
And then Terrapin Station has that's where you hear a more Phish style orchestrated, composed melodies and instrumentation.
Yeah.
But here's the set that I had to learn the last time I went up there. It was Deal, Bertha, Scarlet Begonias, Terrapin Station, Crazy Fingers, Eyes of the World, Shakedown Street, West LA Fadeaway, Loose Lucy, Ship of Fools, Foolish Heart, Loser, Mission in the Rain, Sugary, Unbroken Chain, Terrapin Station Medley was some other thing we had to hit. And then Touch of Grey as the crowd pleaser, you know.
Yeah.
So so I that was.
So you've done your time in the woodshed. Yeah.
I mean, I am not as much as John Mayer now, but I did it before John Mayer. But
yeah.
He's really got obsessed with it, and you know, I think he does a great job.
I would be amazed if he had done nothing before this gig, or at least nothing huge before this gig. But the fact that this is like, you know, not the biggest thing he's ever done, and it's better in my opinion, and even his vocal licks are different. His vibrato is different. The sound of it's all different. It is so hard to get really good at one thing. Nonetheless, two things. You know, like it's really, really, truly remarkable. You know.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt you, but so O'Teal, Burbridge, right?
Yeah, bass player. Yeah.
So you got to listen to Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit.
Mm-hmm. That's what Jimmy Herring, right?
Yeah, that's both of their first like band that showed up anywhere. You got to check. It's weird. It's weird music, but you hear those guys in there and you hear it. I hate to you know, I don't mean to be a downer, and I hope I'm not right. No, not that. I hope I'm not right, but I feel like that could be it for Dead and Company with the pandemic and stuff, and not knowing like when live music comes back, and when, you know, someone like Bob Weir's age, like, you know, all that stuff, man. I mean, I hope not, but
I feel like even if something happened to Weir or one of the other members, maybe it wouldn't be called Dead and Company. But Mayer has come out on the record quite a few times and said that, you know, he's going to be playing this music live with the band for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
you know?
I believe that.
You know, like it's like it's a part of him and it's not going anywhere. Even if it's 10 shows a summer, like you know, he wants to do it.
Well, I like Joe Russo's Almost Dead as well.
Yes. Holy, yeah. They are really, really good. I was very impressed. And I didn't realize he was the drummer. I thought he was one of the guitar players.
Another band that I played with back in the late 90s. His first band was called Fat Mama. And the band I was in, we played with Fat Mama a bunch of times.
Dude. Well, this has been great. You want to
Thanks for having me.
We've been going on for a while. I'll tell you what. So one, I want to just say thanks for everything, you know, over the years and you know, sharing your time, coming on, and inspiring all of us to, you know, commit to the internet and so on and so forth. It really means a lot to me.
No problem, man.
Means a lot to all of us. And
we've had some. I just want to say that Michael and I have had some great some great dinner meals out together and drinks. We've had drinks
Next
together.
time I
We've
want to
had
go to
dinner
Stone
together.
Brewery with you.
Yeah, we will. But
Yeah,
but
next
no,
next NAMM.
no, I gotta say, I've got very excited that the times that anytime someone has asked me or sent a link of you to me as if I didn't know you makes me really excited, because I'm like, that's my man.
Well,
Already known.
dude, love it. So
Yeah.
let's end it. Let's end it with this. So
Okay.
give me a reaction request for my next video.
Oh, wow. A
You got
reaction.
so you got to hit me with the track. You can think about it and email me. But so we've had this conversation. We've talked about all these different bands.
Did you do that Derek Trucks Midnight in Harlem?
I did.
I thought I saw that.
And I saw them come through DC right before the pandemic hit, and they were unbelievable.
I got one. Because it's outside of probably anything. Hopefully it's outside of what people have been shouting at you.
Love it.
It's not widespread. It's not Humphreys McGee.
Good.
It's
give me something different.
Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. Have you ever listened to them?
He's the banjo player. Yes.
Okay. Sinister Minister, I think is the name.
Okay.
But it has to be with Howard Levy on harmonica and piano.
All right, we're not going to listen to it now, but I want to show you the track, and then you can say, yeah, that one. So this is Sinister Minister live. All right. So now the only problem with this software is I don't know how to remove the question once it's up here.
Oh, yeah, that's the learning curve.
That's the learning curve. All right. So we got.
So like,
do you want to find the right one and email it to me?
Yeah, I'll find the right one, but it's a good reaction one, especially if you're not like super familiar with it.
I mean, I know who Bela Fleck is because again, I was big into bluegrass.
No, I can tell that you haven't seen this particular thing. So
yeah,
it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one.
Okay.
Honestly, anything Victor Wooten, you can't go wrong. For reaction, like.
I know. I'd like it to be something that there's a chance that I could figure out a chord.
Okay, you could for sure. In Sinister Minister has like definitely chords that you'll be able to. It's got a basic progression,
right,
that repeats a lot, so you'll hear that and be able to knock that out. But then just to watch the musicianship mastery level is like as high as it gets. So
yeah,
so that's definitely one that I'd be excited for you to check out. I think that's good.
I will do it for you, my friend. And
all right.
Thank you, BV and Vandy and all the moderators out there, everybody that super chat. I sincerely appreciate it. And see you real soon. Be sure to subscribe to his channel. I'm sure you already are. And, and Marty, I'm looking forward to those beers in January, hopefully, if we ever get to travel again.
Well, I don't think NAMM's going to happen in January.
I know. Well, if you ever come to New York for another show or something, I'll cruise up there. I'm only 3 hours away.
Man, everyone else out there, just hang in there. I know we're all in this crap together. You know,
we're all ready for it to be over.
I don't have any words of wisdom on it other than we're just all making the best of it. You know, we get to talk right now.
Just buy Marty's loop pedal and practice your rhythm guitar.
I like the one comment. It just says Marty has his own looper. That's funny. Yeah. No pressure, you guys. Seriously, like I'm perfectly happy. You don't have to buy my looper.
All right. Well, I'm going to end it. Thanks everybody so much.
It's only there if you need one.
That's right. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Marty, hang tight one real quick.
Yeah. Later, guys. Thank you.